17 of chapter 3. On one occasion, a rich merchant of Tabriz came to Konya. He inquired of his agents there, who was the most eminent man of learning and piety in the city. As he wished to go and pay his respects to him, he remarked to them, "It is not merely for the sake of making money that I travel about in every country on earth. I desire also to make the acquaintance of every man of eminence I can find in each city." His correspondents told him that the Sheikh-ul Islam of the capital had a great reputation for learning and piety, and that there they would be proud to present him to that celebrated luminary. Accordingly, he selected a number of rarities from among his store to the value of 30 sequins, and the party set out to visit the great lawyer. The merchant found the dignitary lodged in a great palace, with guards at the gate, crowds of servants and attendants in the courtyard, and eunuchs, pages, grooms, ushers, chamberlains, and the like in the halls. Turning to his conductors, he expressed some doubt as to whether they had not, by mistake, brought him to the king's palace. They quieted his fears and led him into the presence of the great fountain of legal erudition. He felt a great dislike for all he saw, and he remarked to his friends, "A great lawyer is never anything the worse for possessing a clear conscience. A physician may himself indulge in sweetmeats, but he does not prescribe them to a patient suffering with fever." He now offered his presence and then inquired of the great lawyer whether he could solve a doubt under which he was then laboring. This he stated as follows: "Of late I have been sustaining a series of losses. Can you indicate a way by which I may escape from that unfortunate position? I give every year the 40th part of my liable possessions to the poor, and I distribute alms besides, to the extent of my power. I cannot conceive, therefore, why I am unfortunate." Other remarks he made also to the same effect. They appeared to be lost on the great luminary, who affected to be otherwise preoccupied. At length the merchant took leave without obtaining a solution to his difficulty. The day following, he inquired of his friends whether there did not chance to be in the great city some poor mendicant of exemplary piety, to whom he might offer his respects, and from whom he might haply learn what he longed to know, together with advice that would be of service to him. They answered, "Just such a man as thou describest is our Lord Jalaluddin. He has forsaken all pleasures, save only his love towards God. Not only has he given up all concern for worldly matters, he has renounced all care as to a future state. He passed his nights as well as his days in the worship of God. He is a very ocean of knowledge in all temporal and spiritual subjects." The Tabriz merchant was enchanted with this information. He begged to see that holy man, the bare mention of whose virtues had filled him with delight. They accordingly conducted him to the college of Jalal, the merchant having privately furnished himself with a rouleau of 50 sequins in gold as his offering to the saint. When they reached the college, Jalal was sitting alone in the lecture hall, immersed in the study of some books. The party made their obeisances, and the merchant felt himself completely overpowered at the aspect of the venerable teacher, so that he burst into tears and could not utter a word. Jalal addressed him, therefore, as follows: "The 50 sequins thou hast provided as thy offering are accepted, but better for thee than these are the 200 sequins thou hast lost. God, whose glory be exalted, had determined to visit thee with a sore judgment and a heavy trial, but through this thy visit here he hath pardoned thee, and the trial is averted from thee. Be not dismayed. From this day forth thou shalt suffer not loss, and that which thou hast already suffered shall be made up to thee." The merchant was equally astonished and delighted at these words, more so, however, When Jalal proceeded with his discourse, the cause and reason of thy bygone losses and misfortunes was, that on a certain day thou wast in the west of Firangistan, Europe, where thou wentest into a certain ward of a certain city. Thou sawest a poor Firangi, European, man, one of the greatest of God's cherished saints, who was lying stretched out at the corner of a marketplace. As thou didst pass him by, thou spattest on him, evincing aversion from him. His heart was grieved by thy act and demeanor. Hence, the visitations that have afflicted thee, go then and make thy peace with him, asking his forgiveness and offering him our salutations. And yeah, don't violate the rights of anybody, but somebody who's already down in their luck, as they call it. The merchant was petrified at this announcement. Jalal then asked him, wilt thou that we this instant show him to thee? So saying, he placed his hand on the wall of the apartment and told the merchant to behold. Instantly a doorway opened in the wall, and the merchant thence perceived that man in Firangistan lying down in a marketplace. At this sight, he bowed down his head and rent his garments. Coming away from the saintly presence in a state of stupor, he remembered all these incidents as facts. Immediately, commencing his preparations, he set out without delay and reached the city in question. He inquired for the ward he wished to visit, and for the man whom he had offended. Him he discovered laying down, stretched out as Jalal had shown him. The merchant dismounted from his beast and made his obeisance to the prostrate Firangi dervish, who at once addressed him thus: wilt thou that I do? Our Lord Jalal suffereth me not, or otherwise I had desired to make thee see the power of God, and what I am, but now draw near. The Firangi dervish then clasped the merchant to his bosom, kissed him repeatedly on both cheeks, and then added, look now that thou mayest see my Lord and teacher, my spiritual master, and that thou mayest witness at a marvel. The merchant looked, he saw the Lord Jalal immersed in a holy dance. Lord is spiritual master, not, are noble in some way, right? Immersed in a holy dance, chanting this hymn and entranced with sacred music. His kingdom's vast and pure, each sort is fitting place finds there. Carnelian, ruby, clod, or pebble be thou on his hill. Believe he seeks thee, disbelieve, will happily cleanse thee fair. Be here a faithful Abu Bakr, Firangi there at will. When this merchant happily reached Konya on his return, he gave the salutations of the Firangi saint and his respects to Jalal, and distributed much substance among the disciples. He settled at Konya and became a member of the fraternity of the pure lovers of God. What is that in Turkish or Farsi or Arabic? Or what's the actual term of that group? Comment below.